Joining me now, MSNBC legal analyst Christy Greenberg, former federal prosecutor and former deputy head of the criminal division at Southern District of New York. Christy, buckle up for this week, right? Because you have tomorrow's hearing on the gag order. That's going to put Judge Cannon really kind of in a pickle either way. Her ruling is highly likely to be appealed. She's already been criticized for slow walking this case and not setting a trial date. And she has been reversed twice now. How do you expect her to handle this?
Well, what I expect her to do and what she should do may be two different things. Look, for tomorrow's hearing on this gag order, Jack Smith filed that motion a month ago. And what he said was, you've got to stop Donald Trump from lying about law enforcement and saying that they're out to kill him and his family. Why? Because Donald Trump knows those statements are lies. But Jack Smith also said this is putting law enforcement's lives in danger. And then he said it is an imminent danger, an imminent threat. And while Judge Cannon, a month has gone by and she's sat on her hands and not done anything about it, just last week, there was a person who called up an FBI agent who is on Hunter Biden's case and said, if Donald Trump wins, we're going to hunt agents down. We're going to slaughter your whole family. I mean, these kinds of threats, Donald Trump, when he makes these statements, he's inflaming his base. That is the purpose. And by not taking immediate action to make sure that he can't do that, she's allowing this kind of inflammation of his base to continue. So what she should do tomorrow is stop playing games. She needs to focus on this issue. She doesn't need more briefing on it. It's a very straightforward issue. And she needs to issue a very narrow gag order that says you can't do this. You can't put law enforcement's lives in danger. This should not be controversial. This should not be taking a lot of time. And a lot of these other motions that she's dealing with are completely frivolous. There's no need for a hearing on them. There's no need for a hearing about whether Jack Smith was able to be appointed by Merrick Garland. That's a straightforward issue. It didn't need to be a hearing. It should have been an order. But this issue about law enforcement's lives, that's something she should have dealt with right away, and she should be taking it seriously. She should rule from the bench tomorrow.
Listen, point well taken on all that. But one of the surprising things she did Friday was to press prosecutors on the extent of Attorney General Merrick Garland's oversight of the Trump investigations. I mean, you just referenced that. But then she criticized the lawyer who said it was against DOJ policy to get into the specifics. How do you interpret that, considering she is also a former federal prosecutor? You would think she'd be well familiar with DOJ policy.
She should be, and she should know what the regulations say, which is that Merrick Garland, while he does not have day-to-day supervision into Jack Smith's investigation because he is special counsel, Merrick Garland is allowed, when there are significant investigative steps, things like getting a search warrant or getting an indictment, that those are things that need to be reported to the AG by the special counsel. And if they are well outside the bounds and rules of the Department of Justice, they are things that the Attorney General would have the right to overrule. That's why the special counsel under the Appointments Clause is an inferior officer to the Attorney General. And so it's why this appointment of Jack Smith is completely constitutional. And so her getting into the nitty-gritty of what Merrick Garland did or did not do, she doesn't need to do that to be able to rule on this motion. She knows what the regulations say. As you point out, she worked for the Department of Justice.
Yeah, 100%. Let me ask you before I let you go with regard to the Supreme Court, which is going to deliver more rulings starting Wednesday. Is the Trump immunity ruling coming this week? Is it the day before the debate, day of, day after? Could it be punted into next week?
I suspect that, and again, who knows, but my suspicion is we will not get that ruling before the presidential debate. I don't think the Supreme Court wants this decision to be a talking point for the debate. I think they're going to want to wait till after, and I think they're going to want to issue it as close to the end of their term as possible. I think that could go into either Friday or even next week. That way they can drop the opinion and get out of town because I think it's going to be a highly controversial opinion. I don't think that they're going to say Trump is completely immune. I also don't think they're going to say DC Circuit was right. If they were going to say that, they wouldn't have taken this long to say it. It's going to be somewhere in the middle. They're going to say his immunity for official actions, but some of these are personal, and they're going to send it back to the district court is my suspicion, which will be a highly controversial decision, and they're going to not want to deal with that before the debate.
As you say, drop it and bolt. Okay. Thank you so much, Christy Greenberg. Good to see you.